his tomb. Ramesses III's successors. 8 kings succeeded King Ramesses III. From the 4th to the 11th, everyone adopted the name Ramesses. While their reigns varied, they were similar in their weakness and submission to the god Amun's priesthood. They chose to live in the delta as a result in order to escape the influence of these priests in Thebes. They ruled for 8 decades. It is observed that during the final years of Ramesses III's reign, when things started to get worse, there were obvious signs of the royal authority's weakness, the economy collapsing, and the growing power of the god Amun's priests. During his 6-year reign, Ramesses IV usurped the throne and attempted to improve the country's situation while establishing religious and other structures. In the 3rd year of his reign, according to the inscriptions at the Wadi Hammamat Quarry, he dispatched a mission of 8,368 men to bring the stones required for these architectural marvels. He was laid to rest in his tomb in the Valley of the Kings because he did not live long enough to see it through to completion. The fact that this royal tomb's architectural blueprint was discovered on a papyrus that is currently on display at the Louvre Museum in France and that the technical and structural conventions were expressed in hieratic script may be the reason for the tomb's reputation. After him came Ramesses V, who ruled for a short time 4 years. The Wilbur Papyrus tells us that a thorough survey of Egypt's agricultural areas was conducted in the 4th year of his reign, beginning in central Egypt and extending from Fayum to Minya. According to the papyrus, the majority of these areas were still possessed by the gods' temples, particularly Thebes' temple of Amun. Additionally, it made the agricultural tax structures and social structure of this era of ancient Egypt's history more understandable. Additionally, we know that Rames Nakht, the first priest of Amun during the reign of Ramesses IV, VI, and his father was in charge of tax collection business throughout Egypt. In the Valley of the Kings, the king dug his tomb. Following him was Ramesses VI, who ruled for 7 years. He expanded upon and appropriated the tomb of Ramesses V, his predecessor. Its scenes and inscriptions, which offer us a picture of the beliefs of this age on life in the netherworld with its gods, demons, and hell, may be what sets it apart. The tomb is located in the Valley of the Kings, next to Tutankhamun's tomb. We're not sure how the king managed to finish it, given its enormous size, and to have it sketched, engraved, and colored until it looked so amazing and distinctive in style. All of this during the 7 years of his rule, despite Egypt's poor economic circumstances. After him came Ramesses VII, another weak king who ruled for 2 years. After then, Ramesses VIII came to power. He ruled for 6 years, although his tomb has never been located in the Valley of the Kings. Following that, Ramesses IX ascended to the Egyptian throne and ruled for about 20 years. Maybe the papyri that describe the king's tomb robbing that took place during his reign are the reason for his fame. The 16th year of his reign saw the height of administrative corruption, and Theban gangs started robbing tombs of their valuables, including gold and silver. They even tampered with the tombs of notable Egyptian kings including Ramesses II, Seti I, and Amenhotep III. People started to lose trust in their kings, gods, and other authorities. According to one of these papyri, Pasater, the mayor of the city of the living and in charge of the eastern bank of Thebes, reported to the minister King Wazet, who was representing the king, about the robberies taking place in the city of the dead, on the western bank of Thebes, under his watchful eye, and he saw of its mayor, Pa-Ra. Therefore, the minister gave the order to organize a committee in order to confirm the veracity of the report's findings. The Abbot Papyrus, which has been kept for us over time so that we can understand the details of these robberies and what was done about them, is arguably the most significant of the papyri that this committee recorded the conclusions it made. The robbers acknowledged that they had broken the sanctity of the mummies of all the Egyptian kings, both significant and minor. As a result, the king's priests of the 21st dynasty were forced to covertly relocate some of the mummies of the New Kingdom kings to multiple hiding places in order to guard them against the robbers' manipulation. After moving 13 mummies to Amenhotep II's tomb, they selected an incomplete tomb in Deir el-Bahari and filled it with 40 more mummies, creating what is known as the Deir el-Bahari cache. The king's mummies stayed hidden until 1881, when Emil Brugsch discovered the mummies of Deir el-Bahari, and 1898, when Victor Loret discovered the mummies concealed in Amenhotep II's tomb. Now, all of the mummies may be found in the Mummies Hall of the Egyptian Museum. We already knew how the country was crushed by the economic crisis at the conclusion of Ramesses III's reign, and how it got worse under the Ramessides' reign until the workers started to erupt under the hardships of living, while grain prices grew fivefold. It was around this time that Ramses X ruled over Egypt. During his 8-year reign, there was widespread hunger, which led to the workers' exhaustion and eventual cessation of activity. The next stage involved crossing the Nile to complain to the high priest of Amun, who dismissed the claims for lack of authority. Additionally, he explained that he was unable to provide the temple's grains to keep them from starving to death. However, because they remained in their positions until the following morning, the chief priest was forced to dispatch a senior employee along with the deputy director of the royal barn, instructing him to go to the minister's grains and give the men of the cemetery their supplies of them. The final king of the 20th dynasty was King Ramses XI. During the 28 years of his reign, the priest Amenhotep, who became the high priest of Amun following the death of his father, the priest Ramesses II, grew in power, influence, and boldness. The priest Amenhotep attempted to stage a coup when the country's wealth had come into his hands, his power had grown, and he had more supporters. However, the revolution was thwarted at the moment with the assistance of Painasi, the viceroy of Kush. Following Amenhotep's removal from power, Herihor became Amun's high priest. This occurred during the 19th year of the king's reign. Presumably, Herihor enlisted in the army at an early age and rose through the ranks to become commander of the armies of Upper and Lower Egypt, then viceroy of the king in Kush. With the blessing of the gods Amun and Khonsu for their nomination, he pursued his ambition and rose to the rank of minister before realizing his dream and becoming the high priest of Amun at Thebes. As seen by the scenes of the temple of Khonsu at the Karnak complex, Herihor dared to permit himself to be portrayed as the king's size and rank. Instead, we see him wearing the crown of both Upper and Lower Egypt and viewing himself as a king, at least in Thebes, where he also commanded the addition of royal titles and his name be placed inside the royal cartouche. He even called his reign the Renaissance Age and started to document events in accordance with this historical period. The king was content with the situation as it was, and satisfied with the fait accompli. With so, the 20th dynasty comes to an end, along with the New Kingdom and Egyptian Empire eras.